Hi, friends. Hi. It's Friday, and today is a big day. The Jersey Shore, the beach is open today. That's a big deal. And it's hard to believe that in 1 week, a week from today, kicks off, it's the Memorial Day weekend, which is just kind of like, I don't know. I haven't really barely looked at the calendar. There's so much white space in my calendar, I'm just like hunkered down at home, like a lot of you. And today I wanted to share with you something that it just keeps coming up, like I guess with a lot of my conversations with friends and family and people I've been bumping into on my walks. It's this whole sense of what we're all experiencing, individually, but then collectively. This sense of anxiety and uncertainty, like fear, and fear is it's kind of like the boogeyman, right? So I love, I love this, this guy, Chip Conley, wrote this book. I never read his book, but I know he wrote this book, Emotional Equations. And in it, he explores the equation for anxiety, which I often think of anxiety is like the same thing as fear. It's worry and all that stuff that create, anxiety. Nobody really likes to, and many of us deal with anxiety. I've had my own issues with anxiety after my midlife changes, for sure. Listen to this. Anxiety equals uncertainty times powerlessness. I'll say that again. Anxiety equals, this is the emotional equation. Anxiety equals uncertainty times powerlessness. Like, that makes sense then, right? So here we're living in really crazy, uncertain times, for sure. And nobody can even imagine like a crystal ball, like where this is going, what the future looks like. And we have a certain sense of powerlessness. Like, we don't really have a lot of control right now over our lives, and being quarantined and all this, it's a time of surrender. So uncertainty times powerlessness, of course, makes us feel anxious. We all like to think that we have control over our lives. And, actually it's kind of like really an illusion that we ever did have control, but hey, we all like it. I get it. I'm like totally right there. We like to feel that we have a sense of control. But I just love that. It helps explain why we're feeling the way that we're feeling, right? It's to a certain degree, but so what do we do? How do we navigate that? How do we manage that, like fear? And, so I've been really digging deep and having to I've got a lot of tools. I've been on this journey for many decades about learning about healing and wholeness. And so I think it was my very first meditation retreat, 1990, at a 3-day meditation retreat at the Kripalu Yoga Center in the Berkshire Mountains, Western Massachusetts. And one of the first things, my teacher's name was Daya Shakti. That was an Indian Sanskrit name that she had taken. She went on to become a very important person in my life through, maybe 15 years, and I studied very closely with her. But my introduction to, we got a name tag, and it said, "In loving silence." I didn't know I was going to be in silence for 3 days, complete silence, just being with yourself, sitting meditation, walking meditation, laying down meditation, just being with yourself. And one of the things she said in the very beginning of the thing, when we were sitting on our pillows or cushions, she said, "Don't just do something, sit there." Which, okay, we've all heard that thing, don't just sit there, do something, right? It was a complete turnaround of don't just do something. It's time to just sit there. Sit there and be with yourself. Just sit there and be with yourself and on your mind and your thoughts and your fears and your stuff that's been pushed down starts coming up. Of course, none of us like that, but that's really what the journey of meditation has been for me. So I just have to tell you that that weekend, like at one point I was sitting with like a lot of anxiety. I'll call it anxiety, but it was the first winter of 1990, and like I had just started my business, and that summer and that fall I had been doing like 30 or 40 massages a week, and I had so much, like I was icing my forearms and my thumb right here because it was like I was building up strength and muscles, but like having to sit with that sensations of what was going on in my arm. And like I remember her, like sometimes she would just come and she'd say things that would remind us just to be with the sensations, to be in our body, to be with what was going on, to be still, to be with what was happening. And I just had tears that just started coming down, like tears. I didn't even know what they were, like what it was about, but tears flooding down, and like I just let it happen. I didn't really know at the time, but I could feel, I trusted it. I trusted this process, that this locked up energy, which turned out to be like later on I got some insight. Like I think you don't always even have to know what it is, but like I got this insight, and it was about a lot of fear about like I was loving what I was doing, but like my arms were hurting in the beginning. And it was a lot of letting go and trusting that I was going to be able to, support myself and take care of myself. I was single at the time, and all of these things that were like way below the level of my conscious awareness. They were kind of coming up to the surface. So anyway, that's just a little brief personal thing, but I'm going to share a page from a book that talks about this. So when things fall apart, I read this book first after 9/11. After 9/11, I picked up this book and read it, and it's written by Pema Chodron. She's a Buddhist nun, and the subtitle is Heart, Heart, Heart Advice for Difficult Times. And like chapter 1, I picked this book up again recently, and I think I read chapter 1 like 5 days in a row. I couldn't even get past chapter 1 because it was so powerful. Chapter 1, the title of I'm just going to read you one page, but chapter 1 is about intimacy with fear. Okay, intimacy with fear. That's what she starts the book with. So I'm just going to share something that I think is really powerful, because this is what fear. This is the sneakiness of the boogeyman and the fear. Okay. Pema says, no one ever tells us to stop running away from fear. We are very rarely told to move closer, to just be there, to become familiar with fear. I once asked the Zen master Kobun Chino Roshi how he related with fear, and he said, I agree. But the advice we usually get is to sweeten it up, smooth it over, take a pill, distract ourselves, but by all means, make it go away. We don't need that kind of encouragement, because disassociating from fear is what we do naturally. We habitually spin off and freak out when there's even the merest hint of fear. We feel it coming and we check out. It's good to know we do that, not as a way to beat ourselves up, but as a way to develop unconditional compassion. The most heartbreaking thing of all is how we cheat ourselves of the present moment. Sometimes, however, we are cornered. Everything falls apart, and we run out of options for escape. At times like that, the most profound spiritual truths seem pretty straightforward and ordinary. There's nowhere to hide. We see it as well as anyone else, better than anyone else. Sooner or later, we understand that although we can't make fear look pretty, it will nevertheless introduce us to all the teachings we've ever heard or read. So, the next time you encounter fear, consider yourself lucky. This is where the courage comes in. Usually we think that brave people have no fear. The truth is that they are intimate with fear. When I was first married, my husband said I was one of the bravest people he knew. When I asked him why, he said because I was a complete coward, but went ahead and did things anyway. The trick is to keep exploring and not bail out, even when we find out that something is not what we thought. That's what we're going to discover again and again and again. Nothing is what we thought. I can say that with great confidence. Emptiness is not what we thought. Neither is mindfulness or fear. Compassion, not what we thought. Love, Buddha nature, courage. These are code words for things we don't know in our minds, but any of us could experience them. These are words that point to what life really is when we let things fall apart and let ourselves be nailed to the present moment. Being in the present moment is not an easy thing to do. It's so difficult. Usually we have so many distractions, including when these bubbling fears and anxieties are brewing, we just want to push them down and do, like I said, do anything to make them go away. But the only way out is the only way through, or like we gotta like the only way out is through it, or like there's a saying, something like that. But you gotta move through that fear, and not push it down. Talk about things. Know that we're not alone. We're all in this together. It's some of our fears, the what ifs, are just all kinds of like worst case scenarios. Like who was that person that said, I've had so many, fears in my, like worries and fears in my life, and like most of them like never happened. Like all those things that we think about could happen, would happen, and like we drive ourselves crazy. And honestly, fear just robs and sucks our life force energy. It's bad for your immune system. It's bad for your health. It's like it takes years off our life. It's bad for your heart. I mean, I could go on and on and on. I mean, trust me, I know, we all know that. And yet we let, fear run the show. I'm going to end with one final, it's a process. It's a process to stay in the car. Like, I love this quote from Bishop T.D. Jakes. He said, let faith be at the wheel. Like when let faith be at the wheel, even if fear is in the back seat. You know what, friends? We got to put fear in the back seat. We got to just know it, acknowledge it, call it out. Hey, here's my fear again. Here's my fear again showing up. I got to call a friend. I've got to talk to my sister. I got to call my brother. I got to talk to somebody and get my mind right. I have to and just know it's fear. And most of the time when they say fear is false evidence appearing real, FEAR. An acronym, fear is false evidence appearing real. And yes, things are really scary and crazy and uncertain now, and we feel powerless for sure. I'm right there with you. And stay present to the moment. Stay present. There's still wonderful, beautiful things that are happening in our world every day. Every day. There's wonderful, beautiful things, and that is life. So please hang in there. Just call out your fear, own it, process, just keep it in the back seat. Keep it in the back seat. You can look in the mirror, there's my fear, it's in the back seat, and I'm moving forward with my faith, my hope. I believe, I know, I trust, I got my friends around me. I'm going to be okay. I'll get through this. I'll get through this. We'll get through this. So lots of love, and have a beautiful day, and enjoy. Lots of love. Bye.